Hey everyone, this is BlackRockSC and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'll be looking at the new Night Gyr Loyalty variant, the NTG-H. By the way, my hard drive died a couple of days ago, and that's where I store most of my video apps and drafts. So the editing will be a little bit more limited here while the new drive comes in the mail. Okay, let's dive right in. When we look at Clan OmniMech Loyalty variants, we can judge it from three different aspects. First, let's look at any new Omnipods that it brought. The only new hardpoint that we get is the ECM right torso. The problem with it is that to use the ECM, we have to give up the ballistic or energy hardpoint, which is also placed fairly high up on the torso. Not only that, this forces our build to be more left side stacked, which doesn't work quite as well in a NASCAR heavy solo queue. Since the NTG is very slow for a clan heavy, it's especially vulnerable to getting left behind in a NASCAR, so taking the ECM comes with some trade-offs and doesn't make the chassis strictly better. I looked at a couple of cases where the ECM might improve an existing build. First is this Jade Kite ERPPC UAC build. This doesn't use a right torso hardpoint, so ECM may be useful. However, we'd lose the set of 8 Omnipod ERPPC velocity quirks in that case, so once again we have a trade-off. The current standard DACA build, which uses triple UAC 5s and a single UAC 10 on the right torso, can be changed to the quad UAC 5 build with ECM. The drawback is that you lose the asymmetry of the 10s and 5s build, and you lose some DPS. Note that this build triggers some ghost heat, but it's not that big of a deal if you prefer to run it like this. The last build I looked at is the ER Large Laser Gauss range build that you see here. We could have done this before without the ECM, and the addition of the ECM doesn't require a lot of trade-offs. However, I don't normally take this build to quick play because, as you can tell, this is more of a range build, and in quick play with random maps, this kind of build doesn't always have very good damage output on mid and short range maps. This build is really more suited towards faction play. Additionally, when you're on a ranged map, ECM isn't as important since you'll often be shooting at ranges where the enemy sensor or weapons can't even reach you. So overall, the ECM doesn't end up being a game changer for the NTG. And in fact, I think the best quick play builds will not include an ECM at all. Next, we'll look at how well this can farm C builds. We can use any of our existing NTG builds that doesn't require the NTG-D CT energy hardpoint. So some of the stronger builds like this UAC 10 and UAC 5 DACA build without ECM is a possibility. Currently though, the best Night Gyr builds are outclassed by the best Hellbringer and Ebon Jaguar quick play builds. This is mostly due to the sluggishness of the chassis and the mid-torso level placement of the arm weapons, which causes you to be exposed for a long time when you make peaks. So if you don't already have the Loyalty Hellbringer and can't buy the Hellbringer Virago, Ebon Jaguar Esprit de Corps, or any of the stronger heroes, the NTG will still do okay, but it's not exceptionally good. Lastly, we can look at the set of 8 Omnipod quirks. We have a heavy laser duration quirk and a ballistic cooldown quirk. Those 10% values are not negligible, and we have the hardpoints to use them. The first build that came to my mind was something based off of dual UAC 10s. However, in practice, the DPS output of the UAC 10s doesn't increase linearly with cooldown decreases due to the jams. So I found that even with the ballistic cooldown quirk, this build wasn't doing enough damage to justify the long exposure times. If you choose to run this build, you'll have to use your ECM to navigate to positions where you're not getting shot at, take a few shots and get back to cover, potentially repositioning afterwards. The faster clan heavies are just much better at doing this than the Night Gyr, since they can quickly move to good positions and peek with less exposure when they're there. This double Gaussian heavy large laser build is one that I like better. Unlike the ER large laser build that I showed before, this is more intended for the solo queue where mid-range does best. With this build, you can leave the heat management nodes completely untouched and activate some mobility nodes instead, which is something that the Night Gyr really needs. The ballistic cooldown quirk is a straight-up DPS buff to the Gauss rifles, and the laser duration quirk is an indirect cooldown buff for the lasers as well, since the laser cooldown doesn't start until the burn is finished. Unlike the UAC build, this doesn't rely on phase time to work, and it can trade 1v1 with most other heavies out there. However, the ideal scenario is to use the ECM to find positions where you're not getting shot back. I haven't fully scaled out the mech yet, but when it is fully scaled out, it will look something like this. Let's first start out with the sensor tree since the ECM nodes are your highest priority. For the rest of the skills, I go for torso speed and other agility nodes. I get full durability skills. and then cooldown and laser duration for firepower. All right, let's see this in action. So in this match we're on Forest Colony. This is going to be a quick little demo of this build. And one thing you'll notice that I'm carrying one less ton of ammo than I showed in the build video. I learned pretty quickly that I needed more ammo for this mech, especially on longer matches. So you should be carrying at least 5 tons, and because you're so dependent on those 2 Gauss rifles, and they cool down fairly quickly, so you can expend a lot of ammo during the match. Anyways, Forest Colony is kind of an interesting map for this build, and for really any ECM mech, because the forest, especially around this area, the trees obscure people's views. So you can hide behind rocks, trees, and just not get detected at all. So I was able to find a pretty good spot and take a whole bunch of shots there, but I had to move because that Marauder was moving over through Gulf 7. I wasn't going to be able to face him 1v1. It looks like one of our friendlies is giving him a hard time there. He goes down. So this left side peak area is pretty good for our build. So we should get most of our weapons out there. But we still kind of we still can clip that rock if we're not careful. So we're still at an angle where people haven't been really paying attention to us. Just being like behind these trees is just really helpful in these rocks. And you'll see me just kind of taking just free shots at people like behind these trees. And if you're not on heat vision especially, it's going to be hard to tell like a Night Gyr, an ECM mech behind one of these rocks. So we see a kind of a push starting to happen on the left side, so we're going to try to help the rest of our team counter that. It's kind of sad that they didn't push together. If they pushed together, they might have had a better chance. But there's that champion. There's that champion and like nobody else helping him. All right, so all we have to do is to clean up the last guy. And, you know, I think I should have been able to demonstrate in this video, like, your best situation is to find these positions where people aren't looking at you, you're not really taking return fire. Hopefully you're just getting free shots. You can tank a little bit, but that's not the ideal situation. Anyways, that is it. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you like to support the channel, and especially if you want to help me pay for my hard drive, you can consider supporting the channel by checking out PureVPN with the link in the description below. And make sure to subscribe for more content like this, and I will see you next time.